Welcome back to Midcap Radar. As promised, to discuss more, we actually have the management of Paras Defence. We have Amit Mahajan, the Director of Technical, along with R&D at Paras Defence and Space. The stock is surging in trade today. We have a lot of questions for you. First up, thank you so much for joining us. Give us a sense of on-ground activity. How is the order inflow looking like for FY25, and where do you expect to end FY25 in terms of the order book? You've given a guidance for FY28 end at 2,500 crore. FY25, the near-term target?
Good afternoon. Firstly, thank you for having me over. The order inflow looks good. We have a huge funnel which we see consolidating. Our order book, we would always want to maintain about 2x, not more than that, because a little more than that will also mean unhealthy growth and unhealthy pressure as well. But we are having, with God's grace, much more than 2x order book. Currently, it is standing at more than 600 crores. And as we proceed forward, this will keep adding up. The opportunity funnel is huge, in excess of 1,500 crores. And that would mean that our efforts currently are converting all of these opportunities, which are very high probability opportunities, into order book for our company. As we progress in this particular financial year, we should be looking at doing anything better than 25 to 30% over the last year.
So currently, at the end of FY24, your order book stood at 630 crores. So you're expecting a growth in the range of 15 to 20%. Is that right?
If you tell me 15 to 20% is conservative, I'm saying 25 to 30%.
Okay, 25 to 30% is the growth that you're expecting in terms of your order book activity. You did indicate that order book will continue to grow. It will be 2 times the revenues. That is what you are aiming at, right? So if you're saying 2,500 crores will be the order book by FY28, does it mean you will be able to do revenues of around 1,250 crores by FY28?
2,500 crores of... I would want to give you guidance that we will be steadily growing from here on at 25 to 30% year on year. We have
in terms of
this growth for the next 2 to 3 years at least.
Okay, in terms of revenues as well, that is the kind of growth that you're seeing. Now, let me come to margins, because while the top line has been growing, the order book has been growing, margins did see some pressure, and it came in from one of your segments, which is the optics and optronic segment. Can you explain what led to the margin decline this time, and what is the scenario with raw material costs right now? Are there any other pressures that you're seeing on margins?
The good part is the raw material inflation does not affect a company like Paras, because the maximum value gets added in the process of manufacturing. So as much as I tell you this, optics and optronic systems is our leading vertical when it comes to revenues, at the same time margin contribution as well. Because we have a very significant role. We have as good as we enjoy a lot of attention from our customers, and there are very few, or some places nobody other than Paras doing what we are trying to do. Hence, we enjoy a good amount of margin.
But then what led to... Yes, please go ahead.
Second is your defense engineering vertical. Now that is a little competitive space as compared to optics and optronic systems. Now when we are trading in competitive space, the margins over here are lower as compared to optics and optronic systems. Now if you see the revenue split in the last year, you will find that the defense engineering team did 73% of our revenue, wherein optics and optronic systems did 27%, which otherwise, if you see last year, was say 50 or 50 plus % of our revenue was done by optics and optronic systems. This definitely directly contributes to the profitability of the company. This also, I would want to extend this, that this also happened because one large value product. Now, Paras is getting from components to subsystems to a large value single product company. So a large value product was to get delivered in Q4, will get delivered in Q1, and that shift you can see as an effect on the revenues as well as on the profit.
So this particular deferment that you're saying, as far as that large component is concerned, has it been factored in when you've given the guidance for FY25? That is the first question. The second question which I want to ask you is, you've recently mentioned that you're exploring a partnership with Mitsubishi of Japan for periscope systems. Now, can you give us a sense of, where is the level of discussion at currently? When does this fructify? When do you expect it to fructify? And is this also factored in when you're giving in the order inflow guidance for FY25?
Firstly, the Q4 to Q1 you can't factor in because these are beyond your control. And what happens is these are very, very complex systems. If you can imagine that we are the only company in the whole of Asia Pacific to develop and manufacture a submarine periscope. So you can imagine the complexity of a technology like this. I do not want to ride on the name of using Mitsubishi as a large company's name and then try and give you some opportunity. No, I had given you that just as an example to tell you that there are discussions happening between Paras and Mitsubishi. The discussions are happening for something else. Now, in that particular discussion, they also happened to show their interest into a product called as submarine periscope. I do not by anywhere state or do any commitments on these factors. Now, when I'm telling you this as a discussion point, we do not include any of these as our projections or guidance. When we say an opportunity which is of large probability for a company like us, we are calculating opportunities which are having 60% or more probability, where we have bid and the bid probability for we winning it is more than 60% is the only when we calculate that as our funnel.
Yeah, we do get that, Mr. Mahajan, because you have just said you're exploring that opportunity and there's nothing that is finalized yet on this one as well. I want to go back to the margin question because you did indicate that raw material prices do not impact you so much in that particular segment, which is optics. The defense engineering segment did see that one order which was deferred. So on a steady state basis for FY25, what kind of margin picture are you looking at? Because in FY24, you did see a margin decline. So will this improve from here on? What is the outlook in terms of absolute margins?
I would go back to the earlier margins we used to enjoy 2 years back. Anywhere the EBITDA should land anywhere between 25 to 30%. And the PAT margin should land anywhere between 15 to 18%.
Mr. Mahajan, a couple of years ago when you had joined us, you were quite bullish as far as the drone opportunity in India was concerned. In fact, you said that Paras Aerospace, has a lot of scope. You had also given us the number, please correct us if I'm wrong, 100 crore of revenue is what you had anticipated would be coming in from the drone segment as far as FY25 is concerned. Do you stick to that number or will there be a tweaking of that number going ahead?
There is definitely going to be a tweaking of the number. The strategy in the drone market has to keep evolving. We were very bullish on the drone market, but the dynamics in the drone segment and the drone sector has completely changed. If you see back then or in 2021, when actually the drone industry got deregularized, if I may call it, or opened up, if I may call it that way. Then we were one of the first few companies to already do a lot of work in drone segment. As the industry and the sector got opened up, today we find more than 500 companies either doing some work in drones or at least claiming that they are doing some work in drones. So this makes this market very, very competitive. Paras is very, very shy when it comes to competition. We always want to tread in areas where there is less or minimal competition. And hence, we are not very bullish on drones. But if you see, we are extremely bullish on our anti-drone systems. Here, the development that we are doing, we are developing one of the most cutting-edge anti-drone jamming systems, anti-drone detection systems, and we will, over a period of time, we will also develop countermeasures. Now, all these are not just having great potential domestically, but also will have great export potential. Now, we are counting our bets on this. There are players in this segment. but we would want and we are aiming to be number one when it comes to anti-drone company of the country.
All right, Mr. Mahajan, thank you so much for joining us today for that conversation. The stock is up 20%. We would have liked to ask you more questions, but completely out of time right now. But that's the word coming in from Paras Defence. Order book is strong. They're expecting 25 to 30% growth and margins at 25 to 30% as well. As we wrap up on this edition of Midcap Radar, we'd like to thank all our viewers for your continued support. CNBC-TV18 recorded a viewership of 93% on counting day for the most unbiased and accurate coverage. Stock markets were reacting to the votes being counted. We had a viewership of 91%. CNBC-TV18 beat competition by a massive margin from investors to India Inc. The CNBC-TV18 election headquarters was the go-to for election insights. Once again, thank you for your trust and faith in CNBC-TV18.